Hey, you all come in, hit the like, hit the share button, and let me know how the sound check is. I was actually watching Philadelphia football, and I decided to hop on my TikTok real quick. For some reason, I decided to get on TikTok. I'm not as live or active on TikTok as I am YouTube, and I live streamed earlier about seeing numbers, repetitive numbers, but specifically numbers 444, right? So if you didn't catch that video, go back and watch the video of the meaning of seeing numbers 444. And I always tie this to biblical things. And I log onto my TikTok and I see exactly four. Let me go to my main screen. If you can see 44.4 likes, right? 12.2 followers, 12,200 followers, and 44 exactly point 4 likes. I saw that. And I was thinking, And so then I come across this video as I'm on TikTok about Putin. And he's showing, or not really Putin showing, but Russia is showing the true Jews, right, in Russia, and the black Jesus and the black portraits and the Moors, and I'm going to share that video with you in a few. And so from there, I began to think about, okay, which are we, right? Black. Well, I won't say black people because that's black in the color. I say brown people. Which are we? Are we the Hebrew Israelites or are we Jews? Because there's a big difference. There's a big difference. Now, to some of my Bible scholars, and let me make sure my Wi-Fi it has a strong signal because I'm seeing a weak signal. To some right? Biblically, and I can, I'm bilingual. I kid you not. I only get weak signals from my Wi-Fi when I do live streams like this. I promise you. Everything else, my signal is straight. So if you are coming in, let me know if how the sound is and how the signal is. I don't want my signal to be blurry. Okay. And also hit the thumbs up, share this video. And so again, if you are a Bible student, you know that the story of Jacob and Esau in Genesis, right? The story of Jacob and Esau, and Jacob wrestled with God, and um, he named the place Peniel, which is the third eye, right? The third eye, your pituitary gland, your pineal gland. And he named that place Peniel, and oftentimes in the Bible or in church, in fact, it's Genesis 25, starting with verse 21. Churches just skip right over that when they read that. And the twins are born to Isaac and Rebekah, and Esau sold his birthright, right? But Jacob's name at that place, at that wrestling, was changed to Israel, right? Um, Israel, and Jacob name converted to Israel after he discovers his spiritual eye, his pineal gland, pineal eye. He then name is changed to Israel. So oftentimes me and my friend guy, we have conversations about the Bible and everything. And we both agree that ancient Egyptians and Hebrew Israelites are two different cultures, two different entities, right? And that the slaves that were brought over to the United States were from the western part of Africa, right? The western part of Africa, and definitely not the northern part of Africa where we see the Hebrew Israelites are from. But it is his opinion that ancient Egyptians studied what's called astrology, which is actually astro theology, right? And he believed that and other people believe that the Hebrew Israelites were wicked people because they worship astrology. But if you read the Bible talks about astrology. In fact, one of my favorite um, chapters in the Bible is 2 Kings chapter 4. And it gives an example of two women, one woman in 2 Kings chapter 4 that was a widow when her husband died, and she died in poverty, right? And when her husband died, she was in poverty. Her two sons were about to be taken and sold. And then from there on down, it was a rich woman who was wealthy, not from her marriage or husband. And her son died. She built a room just for Elisha, right, or Elijah to travel as he passed through, the man of God. She had that much of a wealth status, or she was rich. And later on, her son died, and her husband told her, she said, "Well, I'm going to the man of God, right, to revive my son." And her husband told her, "Well, it is not the new moon." Right? He said, "It's not the new moon." And she pretty much said, "Well, I'm going either way." He said, "It's not the new moon or the Sabbath, so why are you going to him today?" And her husband said, "I'm going to show you this." Her husband said, "It will be all right." Right? This is 2 Kings. And so also the Bible talks about dream interpretation, right? During the dream interpretation, it talks about and discusses the the sun and the moon and stars in Genesis were made for signs and wonders, and it talks about go to the astrologies, right, for your dream interpretation. So this is 2 Kings chapter 4. He said, "Why are you going to him today? It's neither the new moon nor the Sabbath." And I always wonder when I read that scripture, like, why did he mention something about the new moon? Because cryptocurrency moves with the new moons and solar eclipse. In fact, Jesus' death upon the cross talks about 3 hours of darkness, which is now compared to solar eclipse. However, the prophet Isaiah in the Bible does talk about both negative and positive astrology. However, there is some positive astrology in the Bible for dream interpretations, right? And so it's often believed that one of the faults of the ancient Egyptians, that they studied wicked astrology, right? However, I don't know. I don't know if that's exactly true, because just the name Israel is from the god of Isis, and even the book of Genesis, your genes, Isis is from the god of Isis, which ancient Egyptians discovered and wrote about, and made their stories and parables and analogies, and the god Ra. So you have Israel, right, from the god Ra, and the goddess Isis, right, and El means God. And so you have to know that much of the Bible is derived from the ancient Egyptians. So if you're looking at the ancient Egyptians as evil, then you really have to question your Bible. In fact, let me show you this quick video on the surprising connections between Jesus and the ancient Egyptians, and then we're going to get into Hebrew Israelite versus Jews, right? Let me read these comments real quick, because this is a live stream. I was under the impression that Israelite Jews and Moors were all the same people, but through the gist and the other outside influences, that it was divided among what the truth is. I agree. Ancient, true, original Hebrew Israelites are Black people from the region of Africa that was separated out of Africa and America, 12 tribes of Judah. Yes, there are 12 tribes of Judah. However, Judah means Jew, which is Jewish, and not the tribe of Judah not the 12 tribes of Jacob from Hebrew Israelites, because just Judah within itself means Jewish. So we are from the tribe Judah, that is translated to Jewish, and Jacob is the translation of the Hebrew Israelites. And in fact, in churches, when it comes to Malachi chapter 3 and teaching of tithing, a lot of people in the brown community are taught by their pastors or their religious leaders that we are from that heritage of the Hebrew Israelites and we are supposed to tithe, right? But there was a covenant that was made between God and the Israelites, and God gave them that land as a gift, and those people and those Israelites at that time. And then God said, well, now I want you to tithe from that land. I just want you to give 10% because I've given you that land. That was at that particular time to that particular people. However, religious institutions and churches have kept the tithing and 10% concept in place when it was to those Israelites. So if ancient Egyptians are evil, as many claim, and uh, practice witchcraft, then why do you see these connections between Jesus and the ancient Egyptians in the Bible? Let's listen in.
Religions. One particularly fascinating link is the relationship between Jesus Christ, Christianity, and ancient Egypt. What's happening, guys? Leroy Kenton here. You're watching FTD Facts. I got a very surprising one coming up, so let's jump in. We have number 10, the virgin birth. So this whole concept of the virgin birth is actually something that's not unique to Christianity. It also appears in ancient Egyptian mythology. In one version of the story, the god Horus is born to the goddess Isis through parthenogenesis, meaning that she becomes pregnant without the involvement of a male partner. Similarly, when we take a look inside of Christianity, Jesus is said to have been born to a virgin named Mary. Coming in at the number 9 spot, we have the resurrection. The idea of resurrection is another very common thread between ancient Egyptian religion and Christianity. In the Egyptian myth of Osiris, the god is killed by his brother Set, but then brought back to life by his sister wife Isis. In Christianity, Jesus is said to have risen from the dead after his crucifixion. He was buried in a tomb, and then on the third day, he rose again. That's just another very fascinating connection there. Let's talk about anointed ones at number 8. Both ancient Egyptian religion and Christianity have figures who are referred to as anointed ones. By the way, that's what the term Christ means, the anointed one. In Egypt, the pharaohs were believed to be anointed by the gods to rule over the people. And when we take a look at the religion of Christianity, Jesus is often called the anointed one or the Messiah, which means anointed one in Hebrew. Also, Christos or Christ, that's where we get that term from, also means the same thing, anointed. There's also another very interesting link with baptism is a very important rite in Christianity, and it also has roots in ancient Egypt. In Egyptian mythology, the god Horus was baptized in the Nile River by the god Thoth. This ritual was believed to give Horus the power to rule over the living and also the power to rule over the dead. Similarly, Christians believe that baptism washes away the sins and grants new life in Christ. So it symbolizes being born again, dead to living. Number 6 leads us to the Trinity. So the concept of the Trinity, the idea that there is one God in 3 persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, it's actually a very central Christian doctrine. Now, there are certain Christian groups that do not believe in the doctrine of the Trinity, but generally speaking, Christians believe in the concept of Trinity. However, the idea of a Trinity of gods also appears in ancient Egyptian religion. The gods Osiris, Isis, and Horus are sometimes referred to as a trinity in Egyptian texts.
So now there's just a couple of the surprising facts. And so now the question is, okay, if ancient Egyptians practice evil worshippers, and I will put the link to this video in the comment section, and you can definitely at your leisure go back and watch this, then much of the Bible and its foundation is context. Context is derived from the ancient Egyptians, just the names were changed. So then, okay, so that's one myth I want to dispel. Another one, let's look at this video of Putin, and Russia icons, religious that came from Moors, Moors, which is Jewish people. Now, the 12 tribes of Israel we have Jacob, like that was were born from well, that had Leah. We'll just look at Leah's, right? And the sons of Leah. So we have Reuben, and Reuben was the Hebrew, right, culture. And then we have Judah, which is Jews. And so, and then, you have Issachar and some of those four names, however, receiving a double inheritance. And it's important because right now with this war going on in Russia and between United States and President Biden asking for 105 billion with a B to finance these wars that's going to be paid by the hands of the American taxpayers, then we really have to ask ourselves the whole biblical concept, right, of these wars and what's really going on. Why is the truth being revealed now from Russia? And why is it on a global stage? Right? Is this the wealth transfer that's coming to the chosen people that's supposed to happen biblically? Is this an opportunity? Is this a real opportunity for brown people to become woke? I'm also going to show you clips of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X talking about and discussing reparations as well, because believe it or not, there are some people that said, like Patrick David and Bob Woodson, the interview, he said Malcolm X did not stand for reparations, but I beg to differ. Yes, he did. And Malcolm X, I'm going to share his vision for reparations. And it's this time for reparations, and how should people in the brown community prepare for it and position themselves and convert their cash into crypto and into real money, God's money, which is gold, silver, and also non-monetary metals such as copper and silver as well. So let's listen in.
Showing who the Negroes are. When you go into Russia, they never took our murals down. These murals are from the Black Russian Archives Church that you can see when you go to YouTube. Putin was showing the world who we are. He wanted everybody to see it. But if you notice, the American cameras, they took the camera and they dropped it. When you go through all of Europe, all of France, all of Germany, all of Italy, all of Russia, all of the European nations and the Americas, you're going to find out something, that this so-called Negroes or Moors only mean that you're black. Moors ran everything. And a lot of these Moors were Jews. Some were Sephardic Jews. And some of them were other type of Jews. But these Jews or Israelites ran what you would call the European nations. That's why when you go into Germany, they find bodies that are thousands of type of Jews. But these Jews or Israelites ran.
I hate that I can't pause this on TikTok, but look at that picture to me of the Black Jesus in Russia. I mean, it is so beautiful. But this was transformed and transfigured to a blonde hair, blue eyed, Jesus, Caucasian Jesus. But this video also point out that Jews, and which is also are actually Negroes of Israel, Moors, and some of them were other type of Jews as well. And it should be, questioned as well, like why? This let you know why is it that the Negroes, right, that's derived from the word niggas, are the only group of people, brown people, that don't know their identity. In 2023, really don't know our identity. And now Kanye West and Kyrie Irving are coming out about Hebrew Israelites. And now we are debating between Israelites or Jews, right? Which are Negroes or niggas, right? And I'm going to show you what the word niggas means as well. Still, it's just other types of Jews. right? It is other types of Jews. So Negus was a king of Ethiopia, right? Um, and this is where we got Negroes, and then Negus is derived from Africa, Niger, right? Niger. So yeah, I'm going to show you how to, but I'm gonna let this video play out to its entirety and turn the volume back.
Years old, and these bodies depressed. Stop it. Look at Putin. Putin is showing who the Negroes are. When you go into Russia, they never took our murals down. These murals are from the Black Russian Archives Church that you can see when you go to YouTube. Putin was showing the world who we are. He wanted everybody to see it. But if you notice, the American cameras, they took the camera and they dropped it. When you go through all of Europe, all of France, all of Germany, all of Italy, all of Russia, all of the European nations and the Americas, you're going to find out something, that this so-called Negroes or Moors only mean that you're black. Moors ran everything, and a lot of these Moors were Jews. Some were Sephardic Jews, and some of them were other type of Jews. But these Jews or Israelites ran what you would call the European nations. That's why when you go into Germany, they find bodies that are thousands of years old, and these bodies are so-called Moors. And when they go into Britain, Britain just means sons of Isaac. That's exactly what it means. Britain, when you get a lot of these names as Johnson, McKeever and McDowell, you would think that these names were actually European. But you got to remember, these people were in the Caucasus Mountains. They didn't even speak English. These so-called Negroes and Moors taught them English. And when they came later in the 19th century, they basically took over all of Britain, France, Germany from the 11th century. After the 19th century, they took over everything. And what they did, they came through and they whitewashed everything. So I'm showing you pictures of the ancient nobles here right now as we speak. As a matter of fact, there's a picture here of the painting by Michelangelo, and it's in the Sistine Chapel, and it's of Joseph and Jacob. Here's another one of Moors fighting what they call wild men. And here's a picture of 16, and there's a picture here of the painting by Michelangelo, and it's in the Sistine Chapel, and it's of Joseph and Jacob. Here's another one of Moors fighting what they call wild men. And here's a picture of Robert Pufus by Jean Faucus, a king. He was a king in Britain. And here are coats of arms. These are different nations of Britain, of different people who are Moors. Now, look here, the Holy Roman Emperor, Charles V. Isn't this something, folks? But get this, look at what we call Columbus. He was a Sephardic Jew. That's why he had to come here, because no one else could.
Wow, I don't know what was more impressive, the painting by Michelangelo of Jacob and Esau by Michelangelo, or the original painting of Christopher Columbus, and that he was a Jew, so he was the only one that was allowed to come here. That type of history that we don't know. And so America to Babylon is falling, as talked about and discussed in Revelation in the Bible. And America know that for 310 years you got free labor from the brown, whether you want to go by Hebrew Israelite or Jews, really the lineage are within the same. But you need to know, you need to ask yourself, why don't I know? Why wasn't this taught to me if I'm a brown person in America? My heritage, why is it that this race really don't know its roots or foundation? Also, sometimes people ask me about Niger, right? Or nigger, and they added two G's and they made it something racist and mean and hateful and evil. However, they knew we were from Niger in Africa. And actually in Acts 13:1, Barnabas and Saul sent off. Now they were at the church at Antioch, prophets and teachers. Barnabas, Simon, who was called Niger, right? Niger. And so that word is in the Bible. It is biblical. Again, I don't the artwork by Michelangelo or the original artwork of Christopher Columbus, that shocked me. Another thing, I want you all to listen in on this video. One thing that caught my attention to this video is that it is exactly 11 minutes and 1 second long. So I saw the 1111, right? You've been following me for any amount of time. You know that those numbers specifically speak to me, especially when it comes in the spirit realm. So this was exactly a clip that was exactly 11 minutes and 1 second long. And this is the interview with Bob Woodson and Malcolm X. And he said white liberals and how blacks treason against each other. So I want you all to listen to this small clip, and I'm going to dispute what he is saying about Malcolm X. Tyra says, "Hi Queen, this is epic what you're doing because people are not aware we are the Aboriginals." Wow, they're not aware. To be honest, I'm just now coming into the light about a lot of this. I was raised up in a religious constitution, so a lot of this for me.
I want to play this clip to you. Did you ever have any interactions with MLK or Malcolm X?
Yes, I did. I met Dr. King. In fact, he came to, I did my civil rights work in Westchester, Pennsylvania. That's the home of Baird Rustin. And so Rustin would bring Dr. King to town to bring the media. Then they would focus on our local issues.
And you met him face to face?
Oh, yeah.
And what was it like when you met Dr. King?
Just a wonderful experience. He was the one who said that we must reach down into the deep, dark regions of our soul and sign and ink our own Emancipation Proclamation. Malcolm X said the same thing. He said, our destiny is never determined by what an oppressor does or does not do. He said, our destiny is determined by what we do. Frederick Douglass said the same thing.
Okay, I dispute that. No, Martin Luther King did not say the same thing. Malcolm X did not say the same thing. I don't know about Frederick Douglass, but I want to show you clips of what they did say. And I'm going to start with Malcolm X first. Why he explained reparations are owed to Black Americans. So I don't, of course, that channel is way bigger than mine. It reached thousands more people than I do. But that statement is inaccurate. And I'm going to show it to you right now. So let's watch this. Malcolm X explaining why reparations are owed to Black America and why the God of justice has come now. And I want you to listen to his vision in this video as well, the vision he has for Black Americans.
I would like to point this out, Mr. Rustin. If you have 100 people who work for you for nothing for a week, you make a profit. If you have 1 million people who work for you for nothing for a year, you become wealthy. Well, then when you have millions of Black people whom you can work for nothing for 310 years, you can easily see why America became the wealthiest and the most powerful country on earth faster than any country in history. But here you have 20 million Black people today whose parents were worked for 310 years for nothing. What do they have coming for them? Not only did their parents work 310 years for nothing like an animal, but their parents also were the most faithful soldiers that the master had. What payment have they gotten? And today, they're not asking for much. They're not asking for what someone else would ask. Instead of asking for something that's real, they're asking their master to let them occupy one of the rooms in his house or one of the rooms with him in his house. Now, this is still not asking for something. If America gave the Black man here half of this country, they wouldn't be giving us anything. They worked our mothers and fathers for 310 years with no pay. The Senate, the Congress, and the U.S. Supreme Court found it necessary to appropriate funds to repay billions of dollars to the Indians for land that was taken from the Indians 300 or 400 years ago. And if this generation of whites will recognize a debt incurred by the former generations of whites to the former generations of Indians, then this same generation of whites also must recognize debts incurred by the former generations of white to you and my forefathers. And if their own courts decree that they should pay the Indian today for what was done to the former generations of Indians, don't you think that God is more just than the court system of America? And if the court system of America says that the Indians must be paid, what do you think God would say that that America must do in payment to 20 million black people who worked here for nothing for 310 years?
So I would have to disagree with Bob Woodson on his, stance that of Malcolm X and also Martin Luther King as well. We're going to hear Martin Luther King on economics and reparations. And as Malcolm X brought out, 20 million people, 310 years of free labor. If you can give land to the Indians, if you can give land, and then also they talked about the they didn't talk about, but I'm talking about Obama's administration, where President Biden was the vice president, and they gave reparations to those quote unquote Jews for the Holocaust. So, you can't say, that happened years ago. So why are blacks still talking about it? Well, that happened years ago to those group of people too, with the Holocaust, and it happened to their ancestors. And they still got reparations. Indians get everyone. And so we have to look at Genesis 15 because everything is happening as planned or predicted, right? And he said unto him, Abraham, know of surety that thy seed will be a stranger in the land and not theirs, and they shall serve them, and they shall afflict them for 400 years. Now, an additional 34 years was added when Abraham, also named as Abraham, committed a sin. Abraham had a black, he was married to an Ethiopian, a black wife. And so 34 more years were added to this 400. But verse 14 states, and also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And afterward they will come out with great substance. Now, someone left a comment on one of my videos. Yep, Queen, but we still are a stick neck. I'm sorry, people. It's late. It's late. We still a stiff neck people. Blah blah blah. The Bible talks about stiff neck people. Listen, if there are some people who would give reparations, because reparations are already happening in California and Chicago, Illinois right now for black people. I'm trying to get away from saying black, but from brown people, as far as land, giving back reparation, that's already has started taking place. Robert Johnston, the richest black man, billionaire in America, is speaking out for reparations as well. However, there will be, just like in any other race and ethnic group, some people who will squander over their money, just like they did PPP loan, just like they did stimulus checks. It's going to be some people that don't have a financial education. It's going to be some people who always want God to take justice for them. They're not going to make good decisions within this earth realm, financially or spiritually, or even health-wise. And they're going to sit back and they think that money's going to just fall from the sky into their mailbox, which I'm not saying that, if you qualify for this, because I'm pretty sure you have to do an ancestry DNA test, because as Connected the Dots says, some people, not all, were already here. I'm pretty sure you have to do an ancestry DNA test to even trace back that, you were connected to those that were shipped here on slave ships from West and South Africa. I just don't think they're just going to give you money if you're not. They're just like the land that was given away in Ghana. You have to do a DNA test, right, to connect you to having rights to that land in order to receive it. That's number one. And for those who may just, like they did with the PPP money and stimulus checks and buy steaks and seafood and television, that's their decision. They don't have to do what's right with their blessing or inheritance. And unfortunately, religion has taught a lot of people to expect something for nothing, right? Even though this would be given from the blood of your ancestors, but some people just had that ghetto welfare mentality. They always want something for nothing. And they won't have a financial education. And that's probably why if they get cash, they're going to give it to them now why the currency system is about to be reset, and the United States is changing their currency system because they know some people, not all, won't understand how to convert their cash into real world commodities and into this new world order economic system. As we got Bitcoin today at a reigning $30,000 and other cryptos that's going to beat inflation, right? And that's just what it is, you all. That's just what it is you're going to have your have and have nots. You're going to have people that's going to make intelligent choices, and you're going to have people that make ignorant choices. That's their choice to make, however, right? As Bitcoin's at 30,350, converting cash into this new world economic system and to the currency, gold and silver, that will be used to reset the currency system, right? Connect the Dots says, if our reparations aren't in crypto, gold, silver, and land, then what? There's some people that's gonna be definitely screwed. Not me, not us. We woke over here and not broke. So those people that get that cash and don't convert it into real world assets, then that's their decision. We will not rest until the wrong they have done us. Okay, I'm gonna rest. I'm going to rest. And I'm going to work now, but before, if not, that decision is made, right? Correct. Everyone will have to go back to the land to claim, right? So they're going to have to prove a ancestry test. But I want you to hear Martin Luther King, and his video brought out some things that I did not understand, that doing this in 1968, that he was actually talking about reparations. When Martin Luther King made this speech and he said, we're coming to Washington to get our checks, I thought this was just the poor people's campaign. I thought this was the checks that were due people who were underpaid and overworked. But no, he's talking about reparation, because throughout this video, he's saying land was given away. And they didn't even give us 40 acres in a mule as promised. They didn't even give us 40 acres in a mule as promised. So he's talking about definitely reparations in this video. Let's listen in.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres. Of Congress refused to give the Negro any. At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest.
So he said they didn't give it to African Americans, but they gave away millions in the West and the Midwest. He's talking about reparations. So Bob Wilson, when he talk about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and talk about the oppression of white liberals, that's a lie. That's inaccurate. And you have some brown people that will say things like, oh, we got to stop using slavery as an excuse. I agree with that, but it is an explanation. When you have been mentally, psychologically trained by the Willie Lynch letter, when you have been trained to expect something to just fall from the sky. See, our ancestors worked for this. And shame on anybody that takes this cash if the reparations do come, if your DNA matches and say you are liable for it, and don't create lifetime wealth with it. That your financial intelligence or IQ is not high enough to get cash flow producing assets, to now take this cash and to actually get 40 acres in a mule, to get some real estate and some royalty, and learn about cryptocurrency for color people and what real money is, which is silver and gold. Why do you think China and Japan has been dumping U.S. treasuries and stocks and bonds and buying physical gold? Because they know this currency system reset is happening. So my question is, what are you going to do with the blessing when you get it, if it's cash? Because they're about to bankrupt the fake fiat currency system anyway. So what if they give you cash? What are you going to do with it? You're going to vacation, steak, seafood, buy more television, bigger televisions for your home. I did research, right? And one thing I found is that one of the things that poverty homes have in every household, no matter how poor the conditions are, is at least 3 to 4 televisions. And also, let me break this down. This is in my book, Crypto Chris. I want you all to also support that movement because I'm educating you, right? If you're watching this live in the replay, you're getting education and knowledge. Then support the education. We have to be supporters of ourselves. And so the cryptochris.com. And in this, it says how dollars circulate in the Black community. There was an article written in 2022 that though Black communities are increasing in income, the wealth of these communities remains slow. The article also explained the importance of supporting Black businesses to raise the level of money circulation. So what is money circulation? Money circulation is the money that is physically used to perform transactions between people and business, plus that is kept in banks. Money circulation is important to a community's potential for economic progress. More money in circulation means better financial power and potential for economic growth. So money circulates, get this you all, one time in the Black community. One time. Even though I love the numbers 1111, that's pitiful. While it circulates 6 times in the Latino community and 9 times in the Asian community. And in the white community, guess how many times money circulates? Unlimited number of times. Let me break that down for you again. In the Black community, money circulates 1 time. 6 times in the Latino communities. 9 times, that means we take our dollars into these communities. 9 times in the Asian communities. And unlimited times in the white community. And this explains why most Black communities are poorer than others. This explains why our block is so bad. This explains it all. I have 2 books. And for those who went out and purchased it, or you purchased my PDF book, Cash Into Crypto, then thank you. So you can get that from the Crypto Chris. And, I've been also telling you how to stack silver. That website, Stacking Silver to Get Gold, is there. Or you can just, visit my website. All of this information is generally on there, milliemoves.com, right? Where you can look at both books, but we're not supporters of our own at all. We are praisers of our own because we learned that from church and religious constitution. Give people a hand clap, give them a praise, hallelujah, thank you for the information. And, most Black churches, they don't even give to the quality of the education and teaching. And yes, there are some churches that are very religious based. They are not improving you mentally, spiritually, or intellectually. But there's other churches that are. And you have to prime the pump for people to give to the quality of the information that they're receiving because it's their mindset. So let's go on and listen to Dr. Martin Luther King talk about reparations.
In the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the Black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
And I heard one interview about the Bob Wilson interview, right? And Patrick David is that he said Martin Luther King and Malcolm X died. No, they were assassinated. And the check Martin Luther King was talking about was reparations check. That's why he said Washington. He said, this campaign, my vision is changing, my message is changing. We're coming to get our checks. And so people, whether you believe you're Hebrew Israelites or Jews, just know you have to do your ancestry DNA test to know that, right? First of all. But however, Putin, Russia is showing this. For those who are just coming in, because we have about 50 people in, I'm going to replay that real quick video that I shared earlier in the live stream, just so you can see that because you're coming in late. However, you said everything was a lie. Yeah, you got to unlearn and relearn. Everything was a lie. Why do you think they was fine with the slaves learning the Bible being read to them? They didn't learn to read the Bible, but the Bible was read to them by Black preachers, but they didn't want them to learn and read any other literacy. But they didn't know that people in the Black and brown community was going to take that same Bible years later and find out the truth. Right? Connect the Dots says that's because we have so many businesses from outside communities. I saw a video about why Asians put business in our community, and then IG at Wow kick that video off your timeline. One more thing, I want to share with you all the vision of Malcolm X in this 1963 interview. And then I'm going to show the Putin video again from Russia. Russia is beginning to show the real Blacks, the real artifacts. And this is why the connection of Israel, Ukraine, Russia, Putin, Japan, why that war is happening right now. Right? The greatest wealth transfer of all times.
Minority groups. We have with us two guests. One is Minister Malcolm X. Shabazz, one of the top leaders of the Nation of Islam, or the so-called Black Muslims. And we also have Mr. Herman Blake, one of the teaching assistants in the course. We will discuss today some of the goals and some of the strategies of the Nation of Islam. And I wonder if Mr. Blake might start it off by asking Mr. Shabazz a question.
Minister Malcolm, the thing that I thought might be good for starting it off is to talk about one of the most pervasive beliefs in the general society about the Nation of Islam, and that is that it is an organization dedicated to the use of violent means to attain its goals. The question I have is, how true is this, and why do you think it persists in society?
Well, the Muslims who have accepted the religion of Islam and follow the religious guidance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad have never bombed any churches, have never murdered any little girls, as was done in Birmingham, have never lynched anybody, have never at any time been guilty of initiating any aggressive acts of violence during the entire 33 years or more that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been teaching us. The charge of violence against us actually stems from the guilt complex that exists in the conscious and subconscious minds of most white people in this country. They know that they've been violent in their brutality against Negroes, and they feel that someday the Negro is going to wake up and try and do unto them as they have done do unto the whites as the whites have done unto us. We aren't a violent group. We are taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to obey the law, to respect everyone who respects us, We're taught to display courtesy, to be polite. But we're also taught that at any time, anyone in any way inflicts or seeks to inflict violence upon us, we are within our religious rights to retaliate in self-defense to the maximum degree of our ability. We never initiate any violence upon anyone, but if anyone attacks us, we reserve the right to defend ourselves. So to accuse us of being violent is like accusing a man who is being lynched, who is being hung on a tree, simply because he struggles vigorously against his lyncher. The victim is accused of violence, but the lyncher is never accused of violence. And I only point this out because the various racist groups that are set up in this country by whites and who have actually practiced violence against blacks for 400 years are never associated or identified or made synonymous with the term violence. But whites speak of Muslims almost synonymously with violence. Whenever Muslims are mentioned by them, violence is brought up, but it's not connected with any other group. This is a sort of a propaganda tactic, or what I would call psychological warfare, to in some way make the image of the Muslims in this country be a violent image rather than a religious image.
I'd like to ask a question in that regard. What's interesting is that members of the Nation of Islam have not used violence even when Black Americans were attacked. How do you account for this? Does this in any way contradict some of the basic premises of your movement?
I don't know how you mean.
Well, you maintain, for example, that you will not, or that you should not use violence unless you are attacked by the white man. And I think we can note in the last several years, certainly, dozens and dozens and dozens of instances in which Negroes have been attacked, killed in some instances.
You mean in these demonstrations?
The demonstrations and the bombings, for example, recently in Birmingham, where they killed 4 little Negro girls. And what interests me is the fact is that the Nation of Islam has not done anything to retaliate.
I think you should be happy.
But the important thing is, does your lack of action contradict any of your basic principles?
I'll explain it. You should be happy that Muslims who follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, number one, don't believe in any form of integration, and believe that every mention of the word integration by whites, whether it be from the mouth of Kennedy on down to the mouth of the lowest, raggediest white liberal in the street who is beatnik-like involving himself in these integration efforts, if we believed in it, we would integrate, and we would fight anybody who got in our way or made any effort whatsoever to stop us from integrating. If we really believed that the law of the land, the Supreme Court, and other so-called judicial bodies were for real when they talked about integration, we would integrate. And knowing that the law was on our side, and any effort we made to demonstrate toward integration, why, we would, that's your business. As Muslims, we believe that separation is the best way and the only sensible way, not integration. And but on the other hand, when we see our people being brutalized by white bigots, white racists, we think that they are foolish to allow themselves to be beaten and brutalized and do nothing whatsoever to protect themselves. They are foolish. They should have the right to defend themselves against any attack made against them by anyone. If a dog is biting a black man, the black man should kill the dog. Whether the dog is a police dog, a hound dog, or any kind of dog. If a dog is sick on a black man, when that black man is doing nothing but trying to take advantage of what the government says is supposed to be his, then that black man should kill that dog or any two-legged dog who sicks the dog on it.
Should other black men help that?
So if you see the date on that, it's the 10/11, 10/11/111. Blacks are not heeding to the information today at all. We still got the Black Lives Matter campaign going on. And Dr. Fred Price said before he died that blacks are the only people that has not fought for reparations, won't even fight about it, won't even try to contest, join in unity about it. Why? Because we've been taught not to do that. We've been taught to complain but take no action. We've been taught to just take it lying down. I just saw in the news another black man that was indicted, was released from prison. He was shot down and killed. Mom on the television screen crying again. And again, I'm not, as Malcolm X said, I'm not for violence either. However, self-defense and self-rights. But I also believe in self-education and self-intelligence. And stop just expecting to get something without a fight. Stop just wanting, we won't rest until we get reparations. Well, what are you doing for to get it? How are you educating yourself? How many times are you cutting off the television and listening to some financial education and reading a book? How much time do you take to educate your children about their history? How much do you want it for yourself? And so you all, the reason why, again, I'm showing this is because times are changing, right? The tables are turning. Some people say Bible prophecy is coming to pass. I believe it's Bible prediction, that the people that wrote this and put this in the great book years and century ago knew that it would come to pass. And I'm just educating you about that the dollar will not be the global reserve currency. And if you get reparations in cash, if you qualify, then do the right thing financially and don't wander and waste your money. Don't be like the prodigal son. Don't be like the prodigal son in the Bible and waste your money. Another video clip of Putin showing the Black Jesus revealed.
Only mean that. The press, stop it. Look at Putin. Putin is showing who the Negroes are. When you go into Russia, they never took our murals down. These murals are from the Black Russian Archives Church that you can see when you go to YouTube. Putin was showing the world who we are. He wanted everybody to see it. But if you notice, the American cameras, they took the camera and they dropped it. When you go through all of Europe, all of France, all of Germany, all of Italy, all of Russia, all of the European nations and the Americas, you're going to find out something, that this so-called Negroes or Moors only mean that you're black. Moors ran everything. And a lot of these Moors were Jews. Some were Sephardic Jews. And some of them were other type of Jews. But these Jews or Israelites ran what you would call the European nations. That's why when you go into Germany, they find bodies that are thousands of years old, and these bodies are so-called Moors. And when they go into Britain, Britain just means sons of Isaac. That's exactly what it means. Britain, when you get a lot of these names as Johnson, McKeever and McDowell, you would think that these names were actually European. But you got to remember, these people were in the Caucasus Mountains. They didn't even speak English. These so-called Negroes and Moors taught them English. And when they came in later in the 19th century, they basically took over all of Britain, France, Germany from the 11th century. After the 19th century, they took over everything. And what they did, they came through and they whitewashed everything. So I'm showing you pictures of the ancient nobles here right now as we speak. As a matter of fact, there's a picture here of the painting by Michelangelo, and it's in the Sixtine Chapel, and it's Joseph and Jacob. Here's another one of Moors fighting what they call wild men. And here's a picture of Robert Pufus by Jean Faucus, or king. He was a king in Britain. And here are coats of arms. These are different nations of Britain, of different people who are Moors. Now, look here, the Holy Roman Emperor, Charles V. Isn't this something, folks? But get this, look at what we call Columbus. He was a Sephardic Jew. That's why he had to come here, because no one else could.
Wow, Columbus was a Sephardic Jew. And I think I said earlier there was a picture of Jacob and Esau. It's Joseph and Jacob by Michelangelo. And so again, you have to ask yourself why now, for such a time as this, as United States deficit has risen to 1.7 trillion, whether you're Hebrew Israelites, Jew, or whatever, Jew. And matter of fact, you all remember that? The young kids used to always say, what up, Jew? Y'all remember that? I just thought about that. I don't know, what era you were born in, but when I was a teenager, they always, usually the boys, right, the males would address themselves as Jew. What up, Jew? You know they used to always say, what's up, my, Ned, whatever. They always say, what up, Jew? Have you ever thought about that? Why do they call each other Jews? Come on, some people in the comments drop me. Have you ever heard of it? We are still our kings and queens, a royal priesthood, a chosen generation. King Solomon, Queen Sheba, whose name was Queen Makeda, that was a real name, Queen Makeda. You have to ask yourself, why were the names changed and why were these people whitewashed? Because they don't want you to know who you are and your worth. They want you to think you're evil. Black is evil, is wicked, right? Is out. You look in a dictionary, if you all still have those dictionaries. So the federal budget rose to almost 1.7 trillion. People, that's up from 1.375 trillion just from last year. And receipts year came in just over 4.4 trillion. And it's for anybody watching my channel, because I just educate people. You are the wealth transfer is coming. In fact, it's here. It's going to start with a depression and it's going to lead to a recession. If you don't take cash and turn it into either cryptos that are going to be regularized by the law, right? Real world commodities. I prefer crypto and silver, because gold at over 2,000 an ounce, to me, it doesn't have a lot of interest on it in return. However, I do believe there's a spiritual side to gold, and it is a wealth accumulator. So I will do a separate live stream on that. But now we have this new currency system coming in, and gold and silver will be used to reset the currency system. So if you get reparations of any kind, again, reparations in California and Chicago has already happened in form of land. Already somebody said, I need to get some more people on this live stream, because if you never heard a Black person refer to each other as Jew, I've heard it all the time. What up, Jew? Young kids. Young kids. So let's see if I can pull this up. Is the first state, this was in June of this year, California, the first state to tackle reparations. You're so right, gold and silver. Somebody, I know somebody on it. We got over 50 people on the live stream. Somebody in the heard young Black kids refer to each other and say, what up, Jew? I know that. I know just because I'm from the South, I'm not the only one who heard that. The first state to tackle reparations. So there has been repairing for slavery and racism. That's why gas prices and all that is high. And pricing right now, they're going to bankrupt reparations. And this is just about the adoption. I'm going to get off this live stream. I was trying to find the reparation that the housing discrimination of Blacks, historic reparations. But why do you think it's the conversation now at this time? Right? This was already given to Chicago. Again, I like the interest I like putting my cash into silver, copper, because there's a global shortage on both. And silver and copper is industrial and money, metal, right? However, and crypto, because of the gains that you get. I also have cryptocurrencies that's backed by oil, natural gas, aluminum, commercial real estate, right? And so with that being said, I'm actually about to, do some changes right now and get into my crypto wallets. I've been doing it and securing my crypto all day today, just focusing on it, right? I love the Eagles and football and all that, but those NFL and NBA players are already paid. I'm setting this up for myself and for my family to prepare for the greatest wealth transfer of all time. So not only is your monetary system fake, right? Because this is what cash money used to look like. It used to say gold and silver certificate. That means you could take the paper printed money itself and turn it in for the real gold and silver because it was so heavy. People just didn't want to tote it around. And 1971, Nixon, actually the United States went bankrupt in 1971. That's what happened. Spain was on their way to their warships to retrieve. They had a boatload of this cash. They said, we don't want your fake currency anymore. We want our real money. United States didn't have the gold to give. And so what happened was that Nixon changed the law as they were on their way, on their warships. And then shortly after, they impeached him. Right? They used him to do that. He came on doing a commercial of the show Bonanza, right? And he said it was going to be temporary suspension, and that remained permanent. So they got to go back to this gold, G-O-L-D. Take the letter L out. It spells God. This is going to be used to reset the currency system. That's what the Wizard of Oz teaches you. The golden brick road. Oz mean ounces, right? The green curtain represents the government behind the greenback. That it was false. It wasn't, that little man. The Tin Man represents the silver movement, right? All of that golden, the Wizard of Oz. So we're actually going back to the future. And reparations will be paid to those who qualify, right? As rightfully so. And when they do, I pray that you make the right financial decision. Hey, thank you all for tuning in from all over the world. I love you all. But for everybody, right, no matter your race or gender or ethnic group, let's prepare for the greatest wealth transfer that this generation has ever experienced. Also go to milliemoves.com and also visit cashin2crypto.com to get my PDF 36-page booklet that gives you the blue chip, mid cap, low cap, high cap cryptocurrencies that are approved by the law so you can make the right decisions. Okay, you all have a great rest of your night. Queen out.